Call this meeting to order. It's 6:03 p.m. City of Somerton work session, Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. We're going to forego all formalities and just go straight to roll call and then to our presentation.
Mayor Gerardo Anaya.
Present.
Vice Mayor Juan Castillo.
Present.
Councilmember Jesus Roldan.
Present.
Councilmember Luis Galindo. Councilmember Martha Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Miguel Villalpando. Councilmember Lorena Cendejas. Oh. All right, Mayor, you have a quorum.
You're in a roll.
Ms. Cendejas couldn't come because she's not a council member yet. Ms. Gallegos.
Okay, may I have the control, Andrea, please? Oh, perfect. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. Sarina Gallegos, Finance Director. All right. So before I start with the presentation, I would like to let you know that I updated some of my numbers from the original presentation as a result of a report that I ran Monday regarding our sales tax revenue. So we received sales tax revenue in November for the quarter of July through September that I hadn't taken into account because when I had updated all my data, it was the end of October, beginning of November, and so I didn't capture those numbers. So you'll see a difference in the presentation. I just wanted to give you the heads up because I know that you probably already reviewed it and looked at the numbers. So on that note, can get started. So it seems like every quarter when I report to you, I follow the same pattern. The major markers for me are our cash flows, our revenues, and where we are within the current budget and to start planning for the next budget because we're already within the second quarter of the fiscal year. So we should start planning for the 2023 budget. This is our unaudited cash from the end of 2021. There may be some changes to these numbers in the next month or so once we complete our audit. So I just want to show you the difference from where we were in 2019 to where we are today. It really makes me feel better that we have a little bit more of a cushion within our cash flows. As you can see, it's a significant difference. And I believe that is actually as a result of the Arizona CARES that has allowed us to really build that up. So I always want to include this. This is a slide that would have changed significantly.
I'm sorry, just out of curiosity.
Yes.
On the last slide, in 2017, we had a healthier,
yes.
We
issued debt. So in 2017, we did a refunding of, and I believe that's when we purchased the park land over here. And so you can see that the significant change in that was when those purchases were made. But at that point in time, we had a significant amount of cash as a result of the debt that we issued. I believe that debt is, I wasn't here in 2017, but it's different from the debts that we've acquired in the last couple of years. Actually, the only time we've issued debt over the last 2 years has been for the WIFA loans, and those are within our utility funds, not in our general fund. Okay, so this is a slide where you'll find the change that I very that I talked to you about at the beginning of the presentation. So yesterday, when I was going over my figures, I noticed that our first quarter revenues compared to what I had initially reported and the data that I had put together was different. So I went back, and what I found was there were 2 payments from September that hit in November. So I went ahead and I included it just because it made a significant difference between what I had initially sent to you and what we're showing here. So I want to make sure that I captured all those. And obviously that did make a significant difference. It's about a $20,000 difference from the first quarter of last year to the first quarter of this year. And while I was doing that, the reason I was running reports for our sales tax revenue is because I wanted to see where the difference was between the first quarter of 2020 and the first quarter of 2021. As you can tell, it's a significant difference. We're between $525,000 in the first quarter of 2020 versus $730,000 in the first quarter of 2021. So I wanted to go through and make sure that what I thought was the difference was actually the difference, and it really was. So our retail sales increased by 67% from 2020 to 2021. And that's as a result of the remitting of sales tax revenue by online purchases. The total taxable gross sales was about 17, I believe it was 17 million, 17 versus 10 million. So it was a significant difference from one year to the other. And really that had to do with the Wayfair bill. And now that online retailers are obligated to remit sales tax to wherever the purchase actually originates from. So as you can see, our first quarter looks much better than it did initially, because I was a little nervous there for a couple of weeks. So I'm happy to say that our sales tax revenue are right on schedule. However, in the middle of October, I did receive these estimated share revenues from the state, from our League of Cities and Towns. So if you look at our first line is our initial estimate based on the population from the 2020 census, not 2020 census, but the 2019. So these are the numbers before the 2020 census, and then the next line are the numbers after the 2020 census. As you can see, there's about almost $2,000 drop in population, which impacts the amount of state shared TPT, income tax, and vehicle license tax. Those are the 3 numbers that affect the general fund. According to this, according to their estimates, we're essentially going to lose about $635,000 within the general fund if we utilize the new 2020 census numbers, and 170 in our HER funds. And this won't be effective, I believe, until the second quarter of this fiscal year. So we won't see that difference until November, December, and October. I mean, October, November, December. So overall, the allocation will change and reduce the amount that we receive by about $800,000. So that's why the census numbers are so crucial to us as a municipality, because it really does affect the way that the revenue is distributed. I wanted to include this so you would see this is from 2010 to 2022 budget. So the amount that I budgeted in 2022, as well as the amount that we've received in 2021 of our our vehicle license tax, state sales tax, and income tax. There's going to be a significant difference within those three shared revenue categories. So essentially, we will be going back to 2020, about 2020, 2019 shared revenue numbers. So this is a pie chart of the allocation of our revenues. As you can see, the majority of our revenues is the state shared revenue, as well as our city sales tax. So with the reduction of that, it's about 5%. From the way we budgeted to what we're actually going to receive. Our property tax allocations. I always like to see this because prior to my working for government, I never really paid attention to my property tax statement. And so this really helps me see where my property tax are going. So the city of Somerton actually receives only 14% of what is collected. For our sales tax, our normal sales tax, we only receive 33%. The portion that's the state is what is distributed amongst all those municipalities. So essentially, if we don't have a proper count, we don't get any of that allocation that we've actually paid into. This is a snapshot of our general fund, what we've recorded, revenues and expenditures. The initial slide had a significant difference in our state shared revenue and our sales tax revenue because it didn't include those final figures. So this is a lot better. The picture is a lot better than was initially. So as of right now, our revenue collections are not significantly below the threshold. We're at 93% of our intergovernmental and 87% of our local tax. So that's not bad, especially considering we haven't received the big chunk of our property tax. The property tax that we should be receiving here shortly. With regards to personnel, we are about 85%, which is a normal figure. That's average. That's where we should be. In operations is consistent, 78%. We're a little below, but I think that's okay, just because a lot of the purchases that we make are very contingent upon the time. So a lot of our capital outlays, for example, those purchases don't occur until the middle to the late of the fiscal year. Our CIPs usually come in towards the second and third quarter, and our debt is usually distributed after July and at the end of June. So you'll see those differences. Overall, within personnel and operating, we're tracking quite well. So we have each department. I believe the reason why Mayor and Council's operating budget is as it shows a little over is because of the purchases of the electronics that we had budgeted for that we made at the beginning of the fiscal year, as well as the travels. So, but with regards to our other personnel and administration, within administration, we're at 90%. City clerks is 86. Police and fire is actually low, and I believe that's as a result of the overtime. Now that they're fully staffed, the overtime isn't as high as it was. The other projects that were the capital purchases that we're still working on are the 3 police vehicles, the 3 police vehicles, the sewer improvements, and for fire is the turnout gear and the cardiac monitors, as well as the ambulance. So I think those are still projects that haven't been completed yet, but that will be completed by the end of the fiscal year. Let's see, there's nothing that really stands out to me right now in the first quarter. We are tracking well, but with regards to Parks and Recreation, they have several projects that we're working on. The skate park, which I believe it should be wrapping up here shortly, so we should see those expenditures come in. Let's see. The HVAC for the community center. However, you won't see the expenditures for the HVAC for the community center or the expansion, because those the ARPA funds are in a different budget or in a different fund, so that we can keep better track of those projects and to make sure that only expenditures that really qualify for that grant are being allocated to it. Let's see, the animal control vehicle. We have placed the order for the vehicle. However, because the supply chains are so backed up, we don't anticipate actually getting it this fiscal year. The city of Yuma placed their order and they are 6 months behind schedule. So you may see that budgeted in next fiscal year as well. The mailbox clusters we've already purchased, and I believe the rewiring and network systems are on our agenda tonight. So there's really not a whole lot that stands out currently. Do you have any questions for me? Okay. HERF looks rather well right now. The gas tax hasn't hit. The reduction in the gas tax hasn't hit. It won't hit until the next 3 quarters. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. So to ensure that we are still okay there. The good thing about HERF is that we have a healthy fund balance that can potentially absorb some of this deficit, but we will have to look at our projects for 2023 and outward to make sure that we're not diminishing that cash flow and fund balance for HERF. Our water sales for our water utility fund look on point. It looks like our operations are also on track. I believe there's several projects that are coming up for within the capital improvements that should be executed here in the next quarter. So you'll see that increase. But the sales tax, the water sales are great right now. Wastewater is consistent as well. There's really not, with regards to operations and personnel, we're on track. We're at 99% of service charges, which is fantastic. And I know that for our capital outlay and capital improvements, the sewer lift station should be wrapping up here in the next couple months. So you'll see that hit in the next quarter, I believe. And back to the budget process for 2023. Right now, we should be starting to plan for a capital improvements within each department. So that's something that will probably start here in the next couple of weeks. Do you have any questions for me?
Mayor, well, can you go back to the state share revenue slide?
Sure.
Mayor and Council, it's important for the community to know that our vehicle license tags that we pay on an annual basis, our state tax that we pay when we go purchase items and what have you, and our income as we work, that some of those salaries that we work and spend our hard work money had a huge impact as far as the census is concerned. So much of us, of the folks that did not complete that census survey, these are the consequences that we receive, or rather decrease on receiving to the city of Somerton. So most of this funding that we should have been receiving are going elsewhere, not to the city of Somerton. It's hopefully our residents realize this, that not only that, but for transportation as well, it's for increases in population elsewhere. Most of it has been increased in Maricopa. So our funds, our money is going elsewhere other than the city of Somerton, as we should have kept it from the very beginning if everyone did our part in making sure that we all count. And unfortunately, these are the consequences that we didn't want and did not foresee reduction in population by close to 4,000. So it's going to be a huge impact for us.
I have a question. So I guess the question would be, what are the preliminary plans to cover this reduction?
So with regards to it always goes with regards to cutting back. The first things that we are more able to cut back on are the capital projects, but we don't have a lot of capital projects. A large majority of the capital projects currently in the budget are safety, communications, things that we're fortunate that the ARPA funds cover. So that really won't affect the general fund so much. However, there's also language within ARPA funds for lost revenue. So depending on where our lost revenue is, we'll have to go back and evaluate, okay, are we losing any revenue? Where's that revenue loss that we're seeing? And really read the fine print to see if some of those funds can go back into our operations so that we can continue utilizing. And we don't have to cut so much of our capital projects. So it would be, we start with your capital projects and then you move up to your operations. And then unfortunately, if we have to, personnel.
You answer my follow-up question.
Well, unfortunately, this is for 10 years.
Exactly.
So you're looking at a price tag really realistically of over 8 mil. So even those HARPA funds aren't going to be sufficient. Mm-mm. So for those that weren't counted, some tough decisions will have to be made and might affect the services provided by the city. So to all those community members that are listening, this is the consequences for not doing your part in being counted.
And I know that there has been communication between our Yuma County and their committee, because I'm certain we're not the only ones that are affected this drastically by the census counts. So, I mean, hopefully they'll be able to help us with that. I don't know if you want to say anything about the committee or where you are with regards to reaching out to our state legislators.
Good evening, here, council members. Basically, we are in constant communication with Yuma County. There's a committee put together with all the municipalities and agencies that are going to be hopefully assisting into this. It's big. We're seeing the impact, but as of right now, we understand there is a meeting that is being scheduled for December 10th, with the Board of Supervisors and some of the state legislators. I've been requesting if it's possible that the Board of Supervisors would open this meeting also to city mayors. As of last week, I have not had any response from Yuma County lead personnel as to if they would allow basically their email said it may not probably happen. It's just going to be between the Board of Supervisors and the legislators. But my insistence is that we also need to be part of these conversations and see how we can put our word there and our concern out there, so they can also listen, not on a countywide level, but also on the city level. So as of today, we haven't heard anything. As soon as we hear if city mayors will be allowed, I will pass the information to the city manager, and hopefully that we are going to be part of this. We have also been waiting for the Census Bureau to release to open up the criteria for municipalities to submit the appeal, which is going to happen in January 2022. We're on top of this. We are working on this to see if there's anything that we can do.
Mayor and Council, one other thing is, even though this is occurring, obviously, the biggest thing is for us to increase our city purchases via online. And that's one thing that we've noticed, that more and more people are purchasing items online, which is actually helping with our city sales tax. That's definitely having a huge impact. And so, from going from 48 to 43% from the state shared revenue, that percentage of increase is what the city sales tax needs to be increased by, at least to make sure that we're making up at least that portion of us for those losses. I mean, it's not going to have that much of an impact overall because it's over $800,000, but you may never know if it's that those losses can be made up by purchases within the city and or online. And that's what we noticed. Sarina and I were looking at those numbers today, and there has been a huge impact for our city, all those online sales.
It really has. You can see the difference from 2020 to 2021, just in retail sales was over $100,000 that essentially we had been losing to online sales that they hadn't remitted to the municipalities. That's the type of impact that we're talking about. So yeah, the majority of that increase between 2020 and 2021 is retail sales. I'll be keeping a close eye on those retail sales and providing you with updates probably on a monthly basis, so that you're aware of the changes or any differences, just because now it will affect us more significantly in the next couple of quarters.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Not as bad as yesterday.
No, not as bad as yesterday, let me tell you. I was so happy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, council members.
It's 6:31, meeting's adjourned.